In this lesson, we'll discuss some of the basics of working with lights inside of Maya. Alright, so within Maya, we actually have the ability to drop virtual lights into our scene. And with these lights, we can start to add some really nice dramatic effects, different coloration of lighting, things like that. Now, to create lights in Maya, we can do that by going up to the Create menu. So we go to Create, Lights, and you can see we actually have a few different light types to choose from. So let's talk about two of the lights that you'll probably use very frequently, those being the point light and the spotlight. Now the point light you can think of as being really very close to what a light bulb would be. So you have one point in space and that actually emits light out in all directions. And again, this is going to be very similar to the effect that you would see if you were to turn on a light bulb or something in your house. Now we also have the spotlight. Now the spotlight, really just as the name suggests, is really just kind of like a spotlight or sort of a flashlight you might think of. The flashlight or the spotlight again has one point in space where the light's actually emitted from, but instead of being emitted out in all directions like the point light is, the spot actually emits sort of a focused cone of light. Again, you can think of this as being very similar to what you would see with a flashlight or something like that. Now, again, there are a few other light types in here as well, but the point light and the spotlight are probably the ones that you're going to be using most frequently. Now, when it comes to actually adding in a light, all we have to do is select the light type. So in our case, choose something like a spotlight. And you can see by looking at my scene, really not a whole lot has changed. Well, if we switch to something like our Move tool, making sure that we still have this spotlight active, we can see that the spotlight actually does get dropped into our scene, but it gets dropped in right at the origin. So right at this grid area, and if we come in and actually grab this, we can actually see this light itself. Now, what if we actually wanted to see the light from this actual light source here in our viewport? Well, we can do that by using a keyboard shortcut, and that is going to be the 7 key on our keyboard. So if I press 7 on my keyboard, now we can actually see in a little bit more interactive manner just what this light is going to look like. So with this spotlight, now we can come in, actually grab that, we switch to our rotate tool and rotate that around, and you can see we can actually aim this spotlight in a much more controlled way. Now if we wanted to, we could actually come in and switch this to a high quality viewport. That will actually give us a little bit cleaner view. There we are, very nice. Now if we were to want to actually control a few of the attributes for this light, we can select this and press Ctrl A on our keyboard to open up the attribute editor. And this is where we can actually start to come in and change things like your light's color, your light's intensity, and things like that. So the color, it's really just a matter of coming in and choosing this little color swatch right in here. If we click on that once, now we can come in and start to choose a color for this. So if we wanted this to be something like blue, we can take this outer ring and start to shift this a little bit more down toward the blue. And now you'll see that my color update really has not changed because we're still in this far corner of the blue saturation. So all we have to do is now, once we have our blue color selected in this outer ring, now we just take this inner portion and determine the overall lightness or darkness or saturation of that particular color that we've chosen. So something that is a little bit more on the blue side, and as we start to adjust that, you should see that interactively start to change here in our viewport. We can also change the intensity of our light, so if we wanted these to be brighter or maybe a little bit softer, we can adjust that intensity here. And a few specialized attributes that we can start to find with things like the spotlight are things like the cone angle and the penumbra. So the cone angle is really the overall size of this cone of light. So as we start to adjust this cone of light, you can see we're covering a much wider, or in my case, maybe a much narrower area. So that is a feature that is unique to this spotlight, the fact that we can actually adjust that and control a little bit more interactively just where the illumination is going to be taking place. We also have the penumbra. Now the penumbra is really what you can think of as the softness of this outer ring of light. Now this penumbra is something that you won't see any kind of an interactive effect unless you have your high quality preview turned on. So if you don't already, make sure that you do have this high quality rendering turned on. And once that is enabled, now we can start to see interactively the effect of this penumbra. So you can see as I start to dial this up or down, that starts to now soften this outermost cone of light. All right, and when I'm finished working with these different lights, if we wanted to no longer see the effect of this lighting here in the viewport, we can just use either the 4, 5 or 6 key on our keyboard. And then once again, if you ever wanted to go back to a lit view, you just press the 7 key. Alright, so that's a look at how we can start to add in and begin working with a couple of the different light types that we have available inside of Maya.